when it comes to how I use my energy, I try to be very mindful. But I learned over the years that if I follow my curiosity, it always ends up well. So at some point, I just stopped negotiating with it. I stopped wondering, is it a good choice or bad choice? Is it pragmatic? Is it reasonable? Like, I don't dwell on that anymore.
Welcome back to the Data Bites podcast. I am joined by a lovely woman who has been such a vibrant life in the women and data community, but also an inspiration to me. Anna has a PhD in psychology and has worked as a data scientist, but also is a kindness researcher, which I definitely want to dive more into that, data enthusiast, a speaker, an author, and she was the Women in Data Mentor of the Year for 2023, along with continues to lead the Women in Data Growth Group and has just really brought so much life and, more importantly, support and help into this community by intersecting her background in psychology and growth and data science. So, Anna, welcome to the Data Bites podcast. I'm so happy to have this deep dive conversation with you today. So, how do you see data science and psychology intersecting, and how have you interwoven them into your own work that you do today?
Well, thanks for having me. It's a true honor. It's a very good question, and I get it a lot because for people, it's pretty unusual to see a psychologist that is also a data scientist. I think what people are more used to is seeing people coming from hard sciences into data science. Social science is kind of unusual background and kind of sets you already in this unicorn position, like who are you and why are you doing this to yourself, mostly. But for me, the data journey started during my PhD program, where we had a really amazing professor who was very passionate about methodology, about statistics, about research. And also, I really wanted to be able to do it from the very beginning to the very end. And this is how my PhD actually turned out. I designed the study, I conducted it, and I analyzed all the data. So I had this feeling that I really understand what is inside of this PhD, what it consists of, and that I gained a better understanding of the topic because I was able to uh, understand the numbers. I was able to understand the analysis. And I think that thanks to this, I was also able to dig deeper because I was not only trying to perform what was standard, but I was really interested. Okay, is there something more to it? Like, can I dissect it? Can I put it in a different order? Can I test this coefficient, that coefficient? Like really try what is inside the data. And I think that's a huge advantage of people who are combining different fields, like regardless of if you will think about, I know, biology, psychology, medicine, whatever, really, marketing. If you will put data on top of it, if you're putting your data skills as accompanying your main education, your main training, you are always getting better results, better insights. And I believe that you are able to understand the world around you actually much better because we really live in a world that is so data driven right now. We are producing and collecting data on a massive scale. So being able to actually understand it makes you, um, well, better in what you do because then you can actually have these data driven decisions, insights. And for a scientist is crucial, I think, because otherwise you don't even understand what you read in the papers.
Yeah, what I think is great about academia is it really doesn't matter what area you study, whether you're a geologist or a psychologist or a sociologist, right? I guess we like a lot of is in academia, but whatever your area that you're studying, there's this research rigor and it poses itself really well to move into a data career. Because as you so rightfully mentioned, yes, you had to come up with the hypothesis and do the background research, but you also had to do your own analysis. I'm curious that once you left your PhD program and went into industry and started working in business, what did you notice different about the analysis that you were doing? You had the core skills from your PhD program and the boot camp, but was there still a transition point that was needed for you from academia to industry? And what were those differences?
My biggest surprise was that industry still uses Excel. Which was basically non-existent in academia where I was, at least. You might have store some, I don't know, tables in Excel files, but usually not more than that. And and I see that industry heavily relies still on Excel. And in my experience, that might be more of an anecdote. I feel like when it comes to academia, oftentimes we perform much more complicated, complex analysis than in this industry. Okay, there are certain sectors where they are for sure above what is done in the academia. I'm sure, like they are developing faster, they are doing things on the very edge, and I think that innovation currently is really driven by private companies, not by universities. But when it comes to analysis and skills, in the data analysis you need to have, I would say that for people who are especially in any kind of computational areas, I don't know, computational engineering, biology, whatever, they are very much ahead what they would need in industry. So whenever anybody asks me how can I transition from academia to industry, basically all you need to do is to convince an HR person that you are able to do it, because most probably you have all the skills. More than that, you probably have more than you need. So I think that for those academics who have good background it's in statistics and data analysis, career changes for them probably are, well, relatively easy because they know they don't need additional training.
Fun question for you. Do you use Excel now? Have you caved into the business world of using Excel as well?
I use it less.
Awesome. One of the things that impresses me about your career journey is just how open and willing you are to dive into new experiences from transitioning from academia into industry and always are learning new things. You seem to have a growth mindset and hence leading the growth group for women in data. Was this something that was innate to you or have you had to learn how to have a growth mindset?
Huh. That's a very tough question, actually. Because for a long time, I would not see it as a growth mindset. I think that it was other people who called it like that. I would never describe it myself this way. I think that I'm just cognitively hyperactive, and my brain just needs to have something to do. And I love learning. I'm just curious, and it's so easy. It triggers for me instantly. If there's anything I do not know, I want to learn more. And I think that sometimes I might be a bad example or a bad advisor because I don't really struggle with things like motivation or discipline. Because for me, it's enough to be curious about something, and I get curious very easily. Um, to be able to dive into things and spend months or years exploring it. Of course, when it comes to how I use my energy, I try to be very mindful. But I learned over the years that if I follow my curiosity, it always ends up well. So at some point, I just stopped negotiating with it. I stopped wondering, is it a good choice or bad choice? Is it pragmatic? Is it reasonable? Like, I don't dwell on that anymore. I just do whatever I think is interesting. And I am very lucky and privileged in that way that what I find interesting, our culture rewards. So I would say that is it's a win-win.
So you lead the growth group for women in data. I know understand that this comes quite naturally to you, but what are some of the things that you guys go through in the growth group together?
I feel like we go through everything because my inspiration for our monthly workshops, or sometimes they actually happen even more often than once a month, come most often from what I can read in a chat in the group. So I'm trying to be very responsive to what people say out loud during the meetings we have, or sometimes members also reach out to me directly. They just send me a DM with, "Do you think we could have a meeting about this or that?" And I'm always like, "Yes, why not?" And I'm also experimenting very actively. So we had a freelance fair. We had so a meeting for freelancers. We had reading for growth meeting where we were sharing book recommendations for books that are not data related. So data related books were forbidden during that meeting. But we also had yoga sessions because that's another thing that I do as my, well, kind of a hobby. But actually it became a very important part of my life to the extent that I became a yoga instructor. So I have actual certificate and I ended the whole training. So we did yoga together. We did breathing. What else we tested? Quite recently, we had March Women's Month, and during the Women's Month, we had meetings on menopause, on leadership. So basically, we are trying to cover all the bases possible because where I lack knowledge or experience, we have wonderful members who are right now trusting me enough to put themselves out there and actually speak and be co-leaders, be co-hosts of the meetings that we are organizing. So I think this is amazing that slowly but surely it's not only me but other people, other women who are willing to show themselves, who are able to, well, who are brave enough to actually put themselves out there. I think that's the most amazing and that's the biggest advantage and kind of value added of the growth group. And I also think that this is something that makes this community very unique because I am not aware of any other data related or STEM related organization that actually has a dedicated, I don't know how to call it, like a whole subgroup dedicated only to self development and offers also individual coaching sessions to the members. So it's an amazing initiative. And I'm very, very grateful to the women in data management that, someone risked it. Someone believed me without pointing fingers who. Uh, and I think that is also amazing in this community that it's very open. And I'm just trying to do the same within the growth group, keeping open doors.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that makes a community so special is that I always view it as a garden where lots of different flowers can be planted and grow. And by having that variety and biodiversity, it really brings the garden alive and really starts to shine in this instance. So it takes everybody being a part of it, from either leading a group or showing up. There's room and space for everybody to, no pun intended, but to grow. Last year, you won the Mentor of the Year for all of the mentorship that you've given to the community and individuals that you've supported through coaching and the growth group. What advice do you have for women in a data career today, given being a Mentor of the Year?
That's a tough one. Um, Again, uh, I because I don't really believe in giving advice that much. But there's one thing I know for sure is that people have this natural ability, natural need to grow. So if they are only given the opportunity, they will. What I'm usually trying to do when I work with mentees, when I work with my coaching partners, let's say, because I really see it as a group effort. Coaching is not something I do. Coaching is something where we team up to solve a problem, an issue, some kind of doubt the person has. So I'm giving them usually this hint to really explore who they are, what they like, to what they are naturally driven, what brings them joy. And with that, they are able usually to distinguish the areas of interest. So, and then as a next step, what we often do, especially for those who are trying to change their careers, is how we can combine what brings them joy, what they like, with what they already know, what they already are trained in, and how we can put data sprinkle on it. And I feel like that's the recipe for being aligned with yourself in whatever you do. If they are already convinced that, yes, data world is for me, this is what I want to do, yes, the data sprinkle is always added, like it's a secret ingredient. Um, but also, I have this personal view, as I probably mentioned many times to many people, that data literacy in current world is something that is necessary. So really, regardless of whether you want to change career into a strictly data position or not, having this knowledge about how data works in general is something that is always going to help you. Currently, in the world we live in the last landscape we have, it's like writing. You need to write. You need to be able to, do simple calculations. You need to be able to turn on your computer. You need to know how to use your cell phone, and plenty others. Actually, the necessary package grows and grows, but it grew also uh, with the data package. So I think that it's something we really need to pay attention to. We need to teach younger generations how to be data savvy, let's say, uh, because this is something that massively encourages critical thinking. And in the world we are now, critical thinking is a must-have skill. So, but it all starts with self-awareness, and it all starts with where do I really want to go? And it doesn't need to be any long term plan. If you are able to recognize what brings you pleasure, what brings you, this uh, happy smile and spark in your eye, then you're probably going in the right direction.
Yeah, I love what you mentioned there regarding just, one, giving people the space and the encouragement. And then the workflow that you talked about reminds me a lot of Ikigai, which is what you love, what the world needs, what your strengths are, and then what also you can be paid for. And so helping people find that center for them. And as you so rightfully mentioned, it really comes down to having that vision for your life too, to know where you want to go. And so I just want to say a big thank you for everything that you've done in terms of supporting the community and helping people find their path and their way, because it can get lonely out there, particularly being a woman in this space. So thank you for everything you've done in that space. As we get close to wrapping up, yeah, as we get close to wrapping up here today, I just wanted to ask a final question. Looking back on all of your experiences as a researcher, a speaker, author, mentor, is there an accomplishment that you would say you feel most proud of?
Actually, I have two. I have two that I see as equally important. Uh, One thing is that throughout the years, I was able to gather a wonderful group of friends, people who were really supporting me along the way. We've been through everything basically together. We know each other for decades, we stick together, different jobs, different marriages. It's really, I see it as an accomplishment because I feel like we can switch careers, we can switch jobs, we can move to different places. But if we are able to keep a tribe who sticks together throughout good times and bad times, and in my case, many of those people, I really know them for decades. Um, this is amazing. And I appreciate it very much that they are with me. And this kind of leads me to the second thing I see as my success is that I like myself. I like who I am. I like what I do. I like my life. And I think that this is an amazing thing to be able to say that. And thanks to the fact that I've been doing very different things in life, I switched careers. I lived in different countries. I had plenty of really various experiences. I'm able not to see myself through the lens of any label, and this is something extremely valuable to me. And when I think about it, when I go back in time thinking what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be when I was a kid, I was a nerdy kid, so that's there's a bias already in that. But I always wanted to have a dog because that's like, okay, I was a kid, so every kid dreams about the dog. But I also wanted to write a book, and I wanted to be a scientist. And I think that the kid that I was would be quite pleased with how it all turned out, because right now I'm a bit above 40. All the check boxes already ticked, and there is a plenty ahead of me. And I cannot imagine a success better and bigger than that one. Yeah.
Yes, definitely something to be proud of. And I can 100% relate to you. It sounds simple, but to say, like, I like me and I like my life, just almost a month ago, I was driving home from an event and this thought hit me of like, I like being me. Like, and it was kind of this aha moment. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm 33 years old. Is this the first time you liked being you, Sadie? And so it's this really like like this backpack you've been carrying just kind of fell off my shoulders, but also like such a good feeling of being grounded in yourself and who you are. And so, while it does sound simple, I encourage everybody to go on that growth journey, because when you can get to a point in your life to say, I like being me, is a really great place to be.
I think it's important to say that, and I'm very glad that you shared your experience, because I think that something what we really need is a bit of redefinition of what success is. Uh, and I'm not saying that everybody should define it the way I did, uh, but well, I think it's good to question the mainstream.
100%. And I hope that this episode gives people permission to question what success looks like for them and to start to carve their own path. So, thank you for creating the space and leadership to show individuals the way and that it is possible. And most importantly, thank you for taking the time to come on the podcast today and talk to us, and for all your work in the women in data community by helping others and giving back. We really appreciate everything you do.
Well, thank you for letting me. It was a pleasure. Thank you for the conversation.
And to our listeners, remember to stay curious and keep learning. And we will catch you next time on the Data Bites podcast. Bye bye, everybody. If you are enjoying the conversations you are hearing today, we encourage you to continue to be a part of the conversation and join a community of like minded, extraordinary women. With our free community membership, you're stepping into a realm where learning, networking, and growth are at the heart and soul of what we do. Connect with Women in Data's global community and network with our chapters all for free. But why stop there? Upgrade your membership with a special offer for Data Bites listeners by getting $20 off a pro membership, in which you'll receive access to over 300 classes, leadership training, and exclusive events. If you're interested in mentorship and networking, we've got you. From monthly thought leadership webinars to exclusive networking events and a diverse on-demand mentorship program, the connections you'll make here are boundless. Join us and be part of a vibrant network. Dive into our book clubs, growth groups, and industry-focused gatherings. Women in Data is not just a community. It's a movement, a place where innovators, changemakers, and leaders come together to shape the future. Visit womenindata.org to join or use the special discount code in the show notes. Together, let's drive change one data bite at a time.